Hi friends, welcome to my new series of Life Take Two and the first video that I've scripted in something like 6 weeks. While I've been healing off camera for the first time in years, women across the globe are blowing up over a scrawny dude named Landon who can barely get his chin hair to grow. We thought he was one of the good guys. We followed his relationship with his pregnant princess, the wizard Liz, and we had hope. Hope that men can treat us well. Hope that love can last. Hope that relationships can be uncomplicatedly happy. Then Landon pushed those collective dreams right off a cliff. And we're all wondering how such a bad guy had us all fooled. I'm here to argue that bad guys and good guys don't exist, that humans do human stuff. And I'm here to help you see the reality of who men are. From a 50-year-old grandma who has loved more than a couple of men in my life and knows a thing or two about them. And I want to start by doing something that I've never done before. I want to have a funeral for Jake. And by the way, that is not the real name of my ex-husband. One of my TikTok followers early on named him Jake with State Farm so that I didn't have to repeat my ex-husband all the time. So no, I've never used my ex-husband's real name, nor would I. I'm not going to name the father of my children on camera. So I want to have a funeral for the man behind the screen name Jake, but not the real flesh and blood Jake who hurt me and betrayed me and blew up my life and is living with wife number 2 somewhere a couple hours away from me. Not the monster that I've talked about for years, but the other Jake. Magic Jake, because I never got to mourn him and I cannot live my happy life take 2 until I do. So I hope you'll join me for this.
Ready on the set? Let's try this again.
I'm Jennie Gage and this is Life Take 2. A few weeks ago, I was in my therapist's office, curled up on her couch, crying my eyes out. I had just read an old entry from one of my Mormon diaries that I have tucked in this closet right here on air, on a live stream, and then did a video about it. And I wasn't ready for what I was about to read. I pulled out the diary from the time period where I had met and gotten married to Jake, and then the time period as a newlywed when my nightmare started. And these were diary entries that I have not read since they happened. I have never cracked open this diary in, what's it been, 29 years? I hadn't expected to time travel back to the day I met Jake. And suddenly, there he was. That boy with the grin and the cowboy charm. The one who turned my world technicolor. The one who cried in front of 50 guests at Thanksgiving dinner in our $1 million house in Mesa, Arizona, raised his glass of sparkling Martinellis and toasted me like I was royalty. This was the phrase he would always use, and the phrase that he used that day: Jennie has really outdone herself today. And he would say this with tears in his eyes. I cannot believe I get to be married to this incredible woman. That guy is who I think of in my head as Magic Jake. That same night, after recording those videos, reading the diary from when I met him, we had the neighbor girlies from right upstairs over for dinner. And Kev, my amazing partner, he is incredible. But of course, he didn't do what Jake used to do. And something about being in those diaries that day had resurrected Jake in my mind. And I sat down at dinner that night very keenly aware of the contrast between these two men. Of course, he didn't do what Jake used to do because he's not Jake. And that should be a good thing because Jake made my life a living hell for 24 years. He was a nightmare, but not 24/7. Like many abusive men, Jake had a Prince Charming side, capable of incredibly effective love bombing, of tenderness and grand romantic gestures. In order to knock me off my pedestal occasionally, he first had to hoist me up there with gifts and charm and public praise. Jake is to this day the most enthusiastic man I have ever known. And that enthusiasm came with a Southern accent and tan abs. I never talk about the charm or the abs, though. I have pushed it out of my head and kept only the monstrous side alive in many ways because I had to. Magic Jake was not the man I faced during my divorce. He disappeared altogether the minute he took off that ring, and I haven't seen him in 7 years. But that night, as I sat at my dining table with the love of my life and neighbor girlies, my partner didn't do the things that Jake used to do. And that was a problem. He didn't perform, he didn't entertain, he didn't show off. And after dinner, I actually went to bed here sobbing. I was mad at Kev for not being Jake. But really what was going on was I was mourning. And the reason I was mourning so many years after that relationship ended is that I never let myself do that before. And in a lot of ways, Jake didn't let me do that because he only put forward his monster side after the marriage ended. I had a cousin who became a widow the same month that I became a divorcee. I went to her husband's funeral and everyone showered her with affection and gave her condolences. We are so sorry. It was a really unexpected death and she's fairly young and she just had so much sympathy and was just wrapped up in love. She was mourning. She went through that mourning process of grieving the loss of her husband. When the marriage ended, everyone around me gave me high fives. They all congratulated me. Congrats. You're free, girl. Let's have a divorce party. Nobody brought casseroles. Nobody sent sympathy cards. And nobody understood that I had just lost a husband too. I lost the fantasy. I lost the fairy tale. I lost the version of Jake that I wanted to be real. And maybe that's something a lot of us know but don't say aloud. That abusive men, they aren't monsters 24/7. They're not evil in every space, every moment of the day. They're part monster, yes, but they're also part magic. And the magic is the bait. They spent their whole lives mastering that art of Prince Charming. The flowers, the playlists, the inside jokes, the way they cry when they talk about you. Like, I remember Jake in Mormon Fast and Testimony meeting, which is the first Sunday of every month. It's like an open mic situation. Taking that microphone and tears streaming down his face that he had such an amazing wife. The sad thing is that's the only time I heard it was in public when he was bragging of me. And when the monster side shows up, we tell ourselves he's just struggling. It's been a bad day. It's been a bad month. It's been a bad year. Something horrible's going on. He'll get better. And along with that is I'll get him better. We stay, not for the man he is, but for the man he sometimes pretends to be. When I was little, my parents would rage, scream, hit, throw things, and I would respond by picking flowers from the yard and leaving lifesavers, specifically, what are they? Rum or something like that? They're like butterscotch or caramel, but I think that they call them maybe butter rum lifesavers on their pillows with little apology notes written in crayon or colored pencils. That's what I was taught love was. That's how I learned to survive. Smile, apologize, please them. I can set the tone. Jake didn't even have to gaslight me half the time. I was already doing it myself because I had been raised like that. I was trained to turn rage into roses. The day Magic Jake died was quiet, cold. I was curled up in my missionary son's beanbag chair while he was off in Texas preaching the gospel to the non-members. I had Cookie Monster's PJs, a hoodie on, and my Bluetooth in my ear. Jake was on the other side of the country driving a semi-truck across Texas when he said the words, "I've been having sex with other women." And just like that, the illusion cracked, the magic dissolved, and I found myself all alone. But nobody saw the death that night except me. Since then, I've been in survival mode. I've been fighting the monster online. I've been fighting the monster in divorce court, sometimes fighting the monster in real life, face to face, as we exchange children. I've been telling the truth. I've been exposing patterns and sometimes just fighting this all in my head as I script things out. And I've been sharing Monster Jake with my followers to warn them what to avoid. This is the red flag, ladies. Don't do this. But I can't keep Monster Jake alive without also keeping Magic Jake alive in my head. 100 memories on loop, 1,000 what ifs, because I don't want to let go of the beautiful parts, the parts that made me feel special, the parts that turned me into a princess, if only for a moment. Right now, a million women are watching the Wizard Liz hesitate to kick that prickly-faced boy to the curb, and they're all wondering why. Why doesn't she? Well, I know why. You don't want to leave your magic shake. Nobody does. You want him to win, to defeat his darkness, to kill the monster and come running back as the man you know he could be. But mine didn't win, not in my era anyway, and now someone else gets magic. Jake, maybe he did the therapy. Maybe there's some medication that works. Maybe it was just the divorce or the loss of Mormonism, and now the monster's dead. Whatever happened, he does seem better now, calmer. And I don't get the better version of my kid's dad, and I never will. And that's a tragedy that I've never allowed myself to even peek at, and I have to. So today, I want to say goodbye. And I want to transition into an era where Jake is much less of the story and of everything that I do online. Goodbye, Magic Jake. Thank you for the Thanksgiving lights and the driveway pickleball and the way you made me feel like the center of the universe, just long enough to hook me. Thank you for the luxury cars as a Valentine's surprise, for teaching me to water ski behind our fancy new boat. Thank you for watching the Olympics with me from my hospital bed as I fought for my life. You were a lie, but a beautiful lie. And I was devastated when it all fell apart. If you're listening right now and you're with one of these men, the ones who are both a fairy tale and fear, I see you. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are not weak for missing the magic. You're grieving the part of him that he used to be or pretended to be, and that's okay. But please remember this. You cannot save him any more than I could save Jake. You are not the hero of his story. You are the hero of your story. So maybe today is your funeral too. Maybe today you let yourself cry for your magic Jake. Say goodbye to the man who never truly existed and begin slowly to love the woman who still does. She's still here. You're still here. And you and I both deserve something better than magic that disappears when you blink for a second. If this resonated with you, I want you to know you are not alone. Share this link with somebody who needs it. And if you're ready to bury your own magic, Jake, I'll stand with you at the grave and hopefully provide you with a little inspiration on how we can all move on in my upcoming videos. With love, someone who's been there. I do have a link to a Substack article about the day my marriage ended in the description. Stay tuned this week for some really interesting interviews with special guests right here on my channel. I will no longer be hanging out in the comments. That is a space for you to share your thoughts with one another. If you'd like to chat with me, please consider a membership here or head over to my Substack. Again, linked in the description. Also, stay tuned for a weekly live with one of my co-hosts over at Under Her Eye, which if you didn't catch the video on my pivot, I will be bringing under this umbrella. It'll be done as a playlist here on my channel. We have an incredible archaeologist and author that we will be interviewing next week, and a couple of really incredible videos that will be dropping. So that will all be right here on Life Take 2 as its own separate playlist, and we will be going live with some of our guests under that Under Her Eye umbrella. We're also creating a Substack just specifically for Under Her Eye, so watch for that. We'll do live videos and drop some special material over there. That's for we'll do the after shows. And I think that's everything that I have for you. By the way, I thought that these earrings would show up just a little bit more. I just bought myself these at the farmer's market. You know how all of my jewelry is just local makers. So I'll put the link to this European bead worker that I buy things from here at our little local Arizona farmer's market in the description. I don't think they showed up the way that I wanted them to show up. I probably should have like braided my hair or something, but I thought they were so pretty. Next time I'll braid my hair for him. And I got the bracelet to match. Isn't it so pretty? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.